What up, YouTube? It's your boy Big Al, right back at you with another tutorial. What we're going to do on this young man right here is we're going to start off with a razor fade slick back on top, shaved with a Bronze Series 9 razor. As you can see right away, I start off with my balder, my andis balder, and I already created my line all the way around, guys. If you don't using a balder, I suggest you get on that machine. So quickly I start right here with my number 1 clip, lever open, and I'm just going to go all the way up about center to the crown, center of the crown. And as I go across, what I do is I lower my lever all the way to a 1, and I go across, just hitting the bottom. And right there what I'm doing is I'm cleaning it up with my trimmer and just cleaning up so that that's going to be my shave shadow. As you can see, I just kind of clean up the bot right below where my first guideline is. So quickly now what I'm going to start now doing right here is I'm going to start going over with my clipper over comb. And basically all I did was I used my number 1.5, went up halfway up to the crown, and from here we're just going to blend it out with clipper over comb. And as you guys can see, what I do is I just start off with my clipper and my comb, and I just lift up the hair, and whatever I lift up I just take off little bits at a time, just blending it out. When you're doing clipper over comb, it's kind of like if you were using cement and you were shaping out a wall and you were just smoothing it out. It's the same thing. You just gotta smooth out that wall, smooth out that line, take out that center shadow. So right there what I did is now I went back to my 1.5, my 1 clip, lever open, which is the 1.5, and I'm just lining it up. Again, I'm using my trimmer and I'm just creating. I'm just using that bottom trimmer just to clean up that bottom line before we move on to the next section right here. Somehow or another we got crossed up right there, guys, and I missed out on I must have not videotaped the bottom part, but we'll get it on the second side and the back side. But right here what I'm using is using my half clip, and what I'm doing is concentrating on the center shadow, guys. The center shadow. Remember, when I fade in 3 sections. I fade start off on one side of the head, which is the right side of the head, then I move to actually the left side of the head, and then I go to the back side of the head, and then I go to the right side of the head. When you're fading, guys, you gotta have some kind of a game plan, you know. Right here what I'm doing is I'm using my trimmer blade again, my GTX trimmer blade, and I'm creating that shave, what I call is a shave shadow. And as you can see, this darker below where I just did it, and that's where I'm going to use my Bronze Series 9 shaver to go up right up to that spot, and it all blends right in. Again, right here I'm using my number 1 clip, lever open, and I'm going all the way up to the center of the crown. Center of the crown, almost the bottom, maybe center of the crown though. Once I'm done with that, now I move on to using my clipper over comb again. And my clipper over comb, I'm just going to blend it right in. All it is shaping it out, guys. Taking that center shadow and just blending it in. As you can see, it's few strokes and it gets all blended right in. Again, like I've said it before in my other videos, clipper over combing is a skill that you're going to develop. With the more haircuts you do, the better you're going to get at it. It's not something that just comes automatically. So right here I quickly move on to no clip, lever open, and I'm creating my half shadow line. I lower my lever a quarter of the way and I go back up to the same spot again. Then I lower my lever all the way closed and I'm just hitting the bottom line. Just trying to erase that bottom line. That bottom line that we don't erase right here, I'm going to just grab my trimmer. And I'm going to drag the trimmer and just erase the bottom line. Very simple. Now we're going to grab our half clip Actually, what I did is I grabbed my machine with no clip, and I'm just going back up to the half line again, to the half shadow that I created. Now I'm gonna have the half clip lever open, and we're gonna work on the center of that shadow right there. Center of that shadow. All we do is just drag it, and as we drag it across, we lower the lever a quarter of the way, and we drag it, just concentrating on the center of the shadow, till the center shadow fades out. Again, guys, fading is something that you're going to develop as you go along. You know, it's not something that you're going to learn automatically in 1 or 2 days. And I remember when I was fading, when I was learning how to fade, seriously, I think it took me like a year and a half before I actually started erasing the bottom line, and my fade started coming out cleaner and cleaner. And, you know, it wasn't until, 5 or 6, 7 years that I really felt comfortable fading anybody. Or, you know what I mean? Now it doesn't matter. I can do any kind of fade, but back then it was different, you know. So don't get discouraged, guys. So again, here I go off with my trimmer blade, and what I'm doing is I'm just knocking all the little hairs down and just getting it nice and smooth. That way, when I go back with my shaver, I'll have somewhere to shave up to. Again, here I go with my number 1 clip, lever open, which is the 1.5, and I'm going to go up halfway up to the crown. So again, once again, here we go with our clipper over comb. Remember, we started off with our number 1 lever open, and we went up halfway up our crown. And right here is just a matter of fading it all out, guys. What I like to do is dig in and pull out. Push my comb up against the head and pull it out at an angle, and whatever I pull out, I clip her over comb. Little bit at a time, and as you go, you feel more comfortable, you take a little bit more, just blending it out. It's an easy blend, guys. On this young gentleman, as you guys see, I'm kind of flaring it out. I'm not really going straight up the sides, because he slicks it all back. So in order for it to slick back nice, you want to kind of feather it out a little bit on the sides. Not too much though. So right there I went with my half, no clip, just all the way across. And as you can see, I just lowered it as I went across and take off that line. Now here we go with our half clip, and in the half clip we're just lever open, and we're just concentrating on that center shadow, guys. Center shadow. Just clipping away. Go with our GTX again, the GTX, and I'm just cleaning up the bottom line, just cleaning up the lower portion, just making sure it's nice faded out. There's no bottom, you don't want no bottom line, no shadows right there. Right there I got my machine, no clip, and I'm just basically working on below the shadow, before the half line. That's pretty much it with the fade, guys. From here, what I do is I grab my Bronze Series 9, guys. And if you're not up to game on this machine right here, guys, this is the latest and greatest machine for shaving right here. It's a little expensive, don't get me wrong. It's about $260, and but it's well worth it, gentlemen. It's well worth it. So far, I've had it 3 months, and I can't say. I don't see no flaws with it. I love it. I absolutely love it. I recommend it to everybody. So right there, you guys can see, that's why I was using my trimmer blade upside down, and I was kind of just creating a little shape, what I call a shadow line. And that shadow line is you can see it right there clearly, the black part on the lower portion of it. And what I do is just, I basically go up and take all that shadow off. And you can see the Bronze Series 9 just takes it out nice and smooth and leaves you a nice, smooth fade. Quick and efficient, guys, quick and efficient. In real time, this fade right here took me about, I want to say about 20 minutes. This is just a quick little fade. This young gentleman comes at least once or twice a month. Maybe 3 times a month. You know, he likes to keep his fade tight. Him and his dad keep his fade tight. Look at that Bronze Series 9. It's putting in work right there. Nice and smooth. As you can see, when I get up to where my shave line was, I kind of jig it a little bit, wiggle my wrist a little bit, and it flicks it out, and it kind of blends it in. This this machine is very, very, very easy to use, guys. So the fade's done. We already shaved him. All we gotta do is trim the top up. And like I said, on this haircut, guys, he just wants his slick back on top. So it's not really a pompadour, but when I get a young gentleman like this that has real super thick hair, well, I don't like to take too much off, you know. So what I'm gonna do is just take off. What I do is usually take off 1 inch in the front, and as I move towards the back, I take off a little bit more, maybe 1.5 inches. So I'm gonna start right in the center, and I'm gonna create my first guide. And as I go back, I grab that same guideline, and I create my next guideline. And as I go back, I'm pretty much creating the first guide all the way to the back. Now when I grab my next section, I'm gonna see my guide that I created with the first time I went through. That's where I'm gonna start off. When I cut the top, I cut it in 4 sections. Now I'm going to the right side, and I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna pull it up, and I can see my guide where I went through the first time when I went down the center. It's just basically just a trim. You know what I mean? Like really not even taking too much, taking off the dead ends at the end, on the top. Not taking too much. In the back, I like to leave it shorter, like I said, so it's longer towards the front, shorter towards the back. Again, for you new barbers that are just getting started and you guys having trouble with scissor work, you know, scissor work is something that you know. Again, it comes with time, and it just takes, you know, the more haircuts you do, the better you're gonna get at it. So what I'm doing right here now is when I cut the top, I like to checker it. And the reason why I checker it is because when I go from front to back, there's always hairs you're gonna miss. So when I checker it, and that way I can see what hairs I miss, and those are the ones I want to trim. As you can see, it's kind of jagged. When I lift up the hair, those are the hairs, I just even them out. That way when we come back, it just all slicks back nice. Just taking off the tips. Not taking up almost nothing really. Just the very, very tips. You know, when your customers come frequent, as these customers come, I mean, like he's here every 2 weeks, so it's kind of easy to do his haircut, because for one, I already know his hair, and for two, when you're continuously cutting that haircut, you already know how it sits and how it lays back, so it's easier, you know. Build a relationship with your customers. That's what I really want to say, you know. Right there, what I was showing you guys, I'm showing you that I'm using Suavecito grooming spray, which is a great product for setting your hair. And basically what I'm going to do is just blow dry, guys. And what I'm using is I'm using a 3/4 inch roller brush. And as you can see, all I do is set the brush on top and roll it back. And let the blow dryer do all the work. Because what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to apply some Tip Top pomade. And of course, Tip Top pomade, or any pomade, therefore works way better when it's dry. Remember, guys, if you're using a water-soluble pomade and you're trying to use it on wet hair, it's not going to work. It's going to wash away. So right there, you've seen that I blow dried the hair and I set it back. So now, before I apply my pomade, what I'm going to do is go one last clipper over comb, just blending in my sides, making sure that there's no darker shadows. Make sure that there's a nice tight fade there. This is what I call my detail part of my haircut, at the very end, right before I apply my pomade. Sometimes I'll even apply my pomade and go back and do one last detail, but see right there, I saw that there was a little darker shadow, the center right there. So what I did is I grabbed my half clip, lever open, and I'm just raking that center shadow, trying to lighten it up a little bit so that our fade comes out nice and tight. I don't know, that fade's starting to look a little bit blurry. Is that what you youngsters call it out there? Blurry? It's a blurry fade? Ha, I'm picking up on this lingo for all you young jackrabbits out there. So right here we move to the other side, and what we're going to do is work on a little bit of detail work on this side now. And like I said, I just on the other side, I blow dry the hair, pushed it all to the back, and what I'm doing now is just working a little detail work with my clipper over comb, making sure that my fade is nice and tight. Always position your customer's hair to your advantage, guys. Don't let your customers dictate where they're gonna put their head. You know, you're in charge of the haircut, and when you're in charge of the haircut, you have to dictate to the customer where you need that head. You know, and that's something when I'm doing haircuts, I command my customer's attention, and sometimes I'll position his head a certain way, and he'll move it back, and I'll push it back the other way, and it's just, you know, you have to, you know, this is your job, and you know you want to do the best job for them. So sometimes you just, it's a little, sometimes you gotta explain it to them, but it's nothing that can't be worked out. Right here, the haircut's pretty much done, guys. As you guys can see, the fade looks nice and tight on the sides. This young gentleman doesn't get no lineup or nothing like that. So now what I showed you guys right there is I showed you one of my favorite products. I showed you Tip Top Pomade. If you guys haven't used Tip Top Pomade, I suggest you guys look it up. It's a great pomade. Has a great hold, good smell, and all my customers love it. As you can see, I'm applying a nice generous amount on top, and it's just pretty much, it's kind of like a top coat. You don't want to really dig your fingers through what you already blow dried and lift it up. This young gentleman likes a little bit of a lift on top, so I don't want to flatten it out too much. So as you can see, I'm just lifting it up and combing it back. This is a very popular haircut right now with all the young gentlemen out there. You guys gotta get hip to this one right here, guys. If you guys ain't doing this haircut, this is it. Alright, guys. This haircut's pretty much done. Right here, I'm just finishing him off. Just cleaning up his neck with right below his shirt line. Remember, always clean up the hair below the shirt line. And then just cleaning it up with the Bronze Series 9. Hey guys, there's a list of all the machines and tools that I've mentioned today here in this video. There's a link below in the description if you guys want to purchase those. I'm not a seller, you know. Those are links that it helps support the channel. If you guys have any comments, if you guys have any questions, if you guys want to know anything about these videos or anything like that, just leave me a comment below, guys. And again, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys on the next video. Late.